Hello everyone and welcome to a new video. MC Mura here, and in today's video we're gonna talk about a topic that I find to be very interesting. It's a question that I've gotten over by HKPC on Discord, and it is balance versus hype in fighting games. And if you're not aware of what HKPC is talking about, balancing is obviously the roster balancing, right? Like each of the characters are kinda balanced among each other, so you can pick your favorite character and have a good chance at competing. And obviously hype is when some excitements happen during games. Typically when people talk about hype or something being hype, it means that it is exciting to spectate, it's exciting to watch, and maybe sometimes exciting to play. Although I will say that something being fun to watch, or as they say hype, doesn't necessarily mean it is fun to play. I think they are two different or two completely different aspects, and I do think in this equation we need to consider fun of playing as well. So it's balance versus hype versus fun of playing, because they are truly three separate entities. Now the idea of which is more important is going to come down to what do you want out of the fighting game. If you're someone who is a competitor, like let's say you are someone who is trying to be a pro, trying to play the game at the highest level, I will say what is probably most important to you is balancing, right? Because good balancing means that the time that you will invest in the game will be rewarded regardless of your character. Unfortunately, in many of the modern fighting games, or just fighting games in general, sometimes your favorite character will just not be that viable at a top level, and that can be disheartening. That can actively reduce the fun that you're having at playing the game, despite the game being very quote-unquote hype. One of the most popular examples is the Marvel vs. Capcom series. At least I personally played Marvel vs. Capcom 3 and Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Ryu was infamously known as being a very weak character. It was very difficult to pick up Ryu and make him work. A lot of people would love to put Ryu on their teams, but you just can't get him to work, and that can actually impact your fun if he is your favorite character. So for a set of players, I will say balancing is very important. The thing about balancing as well is that as long as the game is balanced, you are more likely to have fun playing, because when people lose and feel like they lost because of the character or the balancing, sometimes it's excuses obviously, but let's say that you genuinely lost to a character that's totally busted, that sense of injustice will actually reduce your fun playing. A lot of people will get salty if they felt like they got robbed, or that they like no justice took place, right? So that can be harmful, and obviously in today's age a lot of the players are very competitive, I would say, at all levels, so balancing have become more important than ever. Hype is a totally different topic. I think hype kinda impacts how the game spectator state is, how fun is the game to watch. And this is also very important in this day and age, because games, like let's say for example, if your fighting games are having tournaments and streams and all of that, it's very important to the game's health, right? Because a lot of players who will play the game will start as just spectators who were watching, thought the game looked amazing, and then they wanted to try it out themselves. So hype is actually a very important element. Now, like I said, it have to do more with spectating, and sometimes it will impact the balancing, because let's say for example that you are watching Balrog destroy a character with a final level tab into a V-trigger combo, and that took like 80% of their life, right? If you're someone who's playing that is not really fun, and it's not the most balanced aspect of the game either, but it makes for an amazing moment for streaming and for like Twitch viewers and all of that. So hype can be good. Now unfortunately, balance can also impact hype. For example, if a character is poorly balanced, like let's say Cammy was in season 3. She was a very strong character, and Cammy is a very straightforward character. So a lot of the matches had Cammy, which meant that a lot of people didn't find it exciting to watch. So it is something that you have to keep in mind, right? You want the game to be balanced so that the exciting aspects aren't too powerful, but at the same time the dry aspects and the just straightforward gameplay shouldn't be the best thing about the game. I know that a lot of us, the super hardcore players, want to see people walk back and forth with punish and do all that footsie stuff, but that doesn't necessarily have to make for the best viewership experience. Not always, right? Sometimes you need the nuttiness, and that's actually why a lot of the direction regarding Street Fighter V was what it is. Street Fighter V was a game that was very much designed to be watched, right? And that's why they wanted to have these very exclusive elements. So I think that's all. I think that is all important to consider, right? Now, for me as a player, personally, I will always kinda favor balancing a little bit over hype, but you don't want to go that far with it. I will say balancing versus hype. If I have to say which is more important, I will say 60% balance, 40% hype, because hype is important. You want to get people into the game, you want to have general excitement and buzz about your game. Now, the good thing about hype is that it doesn't have to be built through the in-game balancing or just the in-game mechanics. Sometimes it is the rivalries around the game. Sometimes it's a really good just match and just something that organically happens to happen, and that can actually positively impact the game itself. Sometimes hype can just come down to the general state of the tournament, right? Or someone who's like a complete underdog pulling a comeback. It doesn't always have to relate to what is going on in the game or which characters are actually being played. Sometimes if say a Poison is playing, let's say we have a Poison versus Cody match, right? And that Poison is someone who is expected to win, people will generally root for Cody. But if it's the other way around, it's a total random who's playing Poison, or someone like, let's say, an American player versus a Japanese player, and they are fighting in the USA, there's a good chance that they will cheer for the Poison despite the two characters being the same. So hype is better as an organic element, I will say, more than just a shoe-in the game itself. A lot of the developers these days are also added the slowdown mechanics, like for example we seen in Street Fighter 6 when two characters do their drive impact or focus, you will experience a slowdown, kind of like the Tekken slow-mo, which I do think kinda adds some artificial hype, but I'm not sure how important or how good it's gonna be to actually play through that yourself. We're gonna have to wait and see, obviously, on that. Well, let me know your thoughts about the whole thing in the comments below. What do you value more? Do you value the game being balanced more, or do you just value the game being fun to watch and fun to spectate? I will be leaving a link to the Patreon, Discord, Twitter and Twitch pages in the description below. Thank you very much for watching and stay safe.